Hi class, we're starting Chief Architect this week, and then we'll move to Illustrator and InDesign when we go to the portfolio and logo at the end of the semester. If you're looking at my screen today, I am in the virtual lab. Students, you have the ability to request Chief Architect for your personal device for free. Chief Architect is doing that to support students during the pandemic. So you can bring it to your personal device. It does take up a lot of space, as does Photoshop and everything else that we're working with. So warning to you, it's a bit safer to work through the virtual lab. So the instructions are posted under week 6, Chief Architect, and I'm going to go through the instructions. So I'm opening up Chief Architect right now from the virtual lab. So when this appears, class, do you want to associate plan, layout, and library programs with this program? You always want to say yes when something is to associate. So what this is saying is that we're drawing something in plan, we're sending it to a wonderful layout template, we're pulling from library files from all these great blocks and files, and so we want it to all read and be linked together. So when you see this announcement, you're going to say yes. And here is the latest version of Chief Architect. Should you find that there is more training you want to do, Chief Architect, like no other software program out there, I find, just has great videos and tutorials about how to work in Chief Architect. So what I find as a designer, if I have a question about something in Chief Architect that I've never done before, like I want to do a shed style roof or put skylights in or something that I've never done before, I typically just go to Google search and just go Chief Architect, how to build a shed ceiling. And there's all types of training videos and support for you. Chief Architect also has a general catalog of blocks, but then you can also download other catalogs to your library. So you might want to do that. So just like in Photoshop, the more you work with these softwares, the more you will be building up your library. So it just gets faster and faster. So to begin, we're going to open up the new plan. So moving into page 2 of your instructions. We're going to start with a new plan. And this you only need to do the first time that you get this set up, but you can also go in and always reset it up if you want to. So we're on page 2. So in terms of measure units, we're here in the United States. So we're going to go to US inches versus millimeters, the metric system. And we're going to select a template type. So Chief Architect sets up a lot of our defaults for us naturally when we select a template. When you move into studying kitchen and bath, if you're taking that class next semester with me, we actually have a kitchen and bath template from the National Kitchen and Bath Association that we can use. Today you have 2 choices, residential or interiors. So residential is used more by architects, so like when they're building complete custom homes, and interiors are used more for interior designers, let's say for the design of kitchen and bath. The main difference between the two is the residential template is all set up in feet and inches. So if a wall is 10 feet, 6 inches, that's how it'll read. Interiors is set up all in inches. So for those of you who are going to be taking kitchen and bath next semester, that design is very exact. So we actually work in inches because there's just really exact measurements that are in place when we do kitchen and bath design. So today hit residential. So here's just a little bit of a background in addition to your instructions why we do what we do. You're going to want to download this. You only have to do this, once when you log in. Do you want to download available Chief Architect core catalogs to your library? And we want to say yes. because we want to take advantage of all those free blocks that Chief Architect has provided for us. Next week, we'll see how you can bring in additional blocks. And next week, you'll see that you can even access all 3D blocks from SketchUp. So millions of blocks from 3D Warehouse you can bring quickly into Chief Architect. So just to kind of give you an idea about how user-friendly this application is, I'm going to quickly just show you what we're doing today. And in about 2 to 3 minutes, I should have a drawing for you. And then I will go through step by step how I'm doing this. So as I was drawing in 2-dimension, the software is building in 3-dimension. So I just clicked on the camera and you can see what I just brought in. I clearly put in an opening there instead of a door. You can change sizes, you can add different materials and finishes. You can click on objects, and we'll learn how to use the center tool. So if I have this nightstand, I want it centered on the window, you can do that. I can click on this bed and I can center it on the wall. So really, really user-friendly. And when you open up the module, you'll see just this simple demonstration that I'm doing today. And then right next to it, you'll see an example of what a student did to it. So believe it or not, by next week, you're going to be designing in 3D all these, this bedroom and a kitchen. So again, over the course of 2 classes, that's how friendly it is. You'll be able to create these. I use these often for underdrawings. So if I want to do a quick sketch for my client of maybe what I want to do for a remodel, I could just turn these into line drawings, and these line drawings I could then just place a piece of paper over and sketch real quickly, like if I want to make this a dome or if I want to tile this wall. So I use this all the time, and you're going to know that I've been using this for about 20 years. So ever since I discovered this some 20 years ago, I've been using the Chief Architect software. So Chief Architect has been around before SketchUp. So we're going to start by just following the step-by-step instructions that are posted on the module. So you have your interface here, and we're going to look at the different parts of the interface. But before we can look at the interface, you had to open up a new plan, and you did that. So this is the template, and we're going to move to page 3. So here you have a grid. On the far right of the tool panel, you can turn on or off the grid. So if you watched my cursor go to the right, there are some windows that we can zoom in and out of, go from color to not color, but there's also a grid. If you don't like the grid, you can turn that off. So just by clicking on it. I'm going to have you go ahead and keep that grid open. So first, looking at the toolbar. So we have our architectural tools going across the top. So architectural tools include this. There's drop downs under each of these tools. And we'll go over those, but just quickly, the first tool is what's called the select tool. This is really important. I used to call it the select arrow thingamajigger, but it's the select tool. It's this arrow. And this always needs to be activated to click on the different icons. So I can't be like on a piece of furniture, for example, and then click. So this is your select tool. Very important. Then we have the drop down for all your walls. So we have exterior walls, straight walls, foundation walls, pony walls, glass walls, straight half walls, room dividers, etc. These have all been set to a default, like 6 for exterior walls, 4.5 for interior walls. You can update these if you're doing something very custom, but for the most part, we just use the default. Next to that are rails. So railing for outside for decks and stuff. We have curved walls. We have wall breaks. So sometimes you want to break a wall, but let's say you want to have a wall that goes from, I don't know, half brick and then wall covering starts on a wall. So you have to put a little break in that wall so that the software can read where to stop and stop materials. That's a wall break. And then we have all of the doors drop downs. We have hinge doors, doors that swing, doorways, which are just openings, sliding doors, pocket doors, bifold doors, garage doors, beautiful barn style doors, shower doors. And then the same is true for windows. We have cabinets, upper, lower, full height soffits, electrical, stairs. So those are what we'll be working with in the next couple of weeks. So it really is surprising how quickly students grab on to Chief Architect. I guess it shouldn't be surprising because early on, 20 years ago, I wasn't a big fan of kind of the computer and technology, and I just really loved this program. So it is very friendly. We also have a library dialog box that's open, and I'm going to go ahead and just close all this for now. And to activate that, you're going to click on what looks like a stack of books, and this opens up your library browser. So you can click on this, or you could click on library, and then that activates your browser. Browser meaning you can search. So you can search by typing in a word, bedspread, bedside table, bed, or you can search according to folders. So I just clicked on the folder. If you missed that, there's a little folder, and you can look within the folder. So I have you work both ways just so that you get used to working both ways. So I'm going to open up the Chief Architect core catalog, and you can see all of the different folders, things like plants and plumbing and materials and backdrops, so that if you want a desert looking out the window, if you want a city looking out the window, backdrops. Architectural are things like columns and moldings and appliances. Today we're going to work under interiors. And so if you look in the interiors drop-down menu, you'll see things like accessories, electronics, safety, and furniture. And so you can look that way. What I love, and you won't see anything here, is the user catalog. I have just the best user catalog on my home computer because I've been collecting my favorite blocks from Google SketchUp 3D Warehouse. So as I'm designing restaurants, for example, I have found all of the coolest pendants, great chandeliers, bar stools, and I have them all saved in my catalog so that I can easily click and drag. Here you have the main toolbar above it. So we have our tools for architectural tools, and then above it we have our main toolbar. So we're going to be working with the camera today. So this is where we're going to toggle back and forth from plan view to a perspective view, or also you can toggle back and forth between plan view, elevations, sections, or perspectives. Again, so much time is saved because as you are developing your floor plan, it's drawing in 3D. So this is a lot like Revit. It is a lot now like SketchUp. SketchUp is getting a lot more, SketchUp is catching up with Chief Architect, I'm going to tell you the truth. Even though SketchUp is probably more popular, it is kind of catching up to what Chief Architect provides. And Chief Architect is the main software for the National Kitchen and Bath Association. So when we design for competitions and scholarships next semester, you'll be using Chief Architect and you'll get a lot more familiar with it. This is just an introduction. So I'm on the bottom of page 4. You can just see the drop down for the different camera views. We're going to use just the full camera view today. And so now we're going to actually begin drawing that bedroom. That bedroom scene is what's due for next week. I would save the bedroom scene both as a picture, which I'll show you how to do, as well as a Chief Architect drawing. Because after next week, you're going to want to put wallpaper in. You're going to want to do all kinds of fun things to your drawing. But for next week, you just have to do this bedroom 3D perspective and then capture it as an image and turn that in. You can modify it as little or as much as you want. So again, please, if you want to just kind of follow the instructions, that's okay. If you want to make it really yours, you can do that as well. So on the top of page 5, we're going to start a new plan. We're going to go File, Save As, and we're going to save this plan as Bedroom Demo, or whatever you want to name it. And so now you can see that we have a tab here that says Bedroom Demo. Page 5 and page 6 is just something for you to keep where it explains what each tool does. So just a repeat of what I quickly said before our internet will die on us again. So pages 5 and 6 go over what all those are again. And so on the bottom of page 6, we're going to start drawing a wall. And the first wall we're going to draw is a 30-foot long wall. And so go ahead and from the wall drop-down menu, pick a straight interior wall. This is the only complicated thing for today. It really isn't that complicated. So when I say click, I'm going to say clicking is clicking on my mouse. When I say drag, that's pulling my mouse. And you can see temporary dimensions are there. And when I say release, release is release my finger from my mouse. So I know that sounds funny, but when we're in person, this takes about 15 or 20 minutes for people to practice click, drag, release. You're going to notice that there's a temporary dimension. If you use your select tool and you click on that wall, it activates that dimension. And you can hover over it and a little finger is going to appear. And you can actually click on the dimension and make it just 30 feet. So if you're having trouble, click drag to your perfect dimension, no big deal. Because once you release, then you can always reset the dimension. So I'm going to hit enter. What these are for is sometimes if you've built two walls, you want the wall to go 30 feet in that direction or up and down. So that's what this is indicating. It doesn't really matter here because it's our only wall, but you can tell it which way to move. And I hit enter. So now we're going to click. So I have my select tool still selected. I'm going to select a straight wall again. And this time I want a 20-foot wall. Click, drag 20 feet. Release. I couldn't get it quite there. So you could always, again, click on the wall, which activates the dimension. Hover over the dimension. Click on the dimension, and I'm going to type 20 feet. You do have to put the marker in, 20 feet. And hit enter on my keyboard. Now I'm going to enclose. And so when you enclose, there's a snap tool, so it snaps to that edge. There's a crossbar, so I could tell when I'm lined up. And so then I could just click, drag, release. And so now I have a 30-foot wide by 20-foot deep room. Was there any questions, Laura, there? I mean, it is something that you just have to practice.
No, it looks pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. I'm counting on you if I'm going a bit too quick. What I'm just showing you here is that you can zoom in. So you can zoom in using the roller on your mouse. You can also use the pan tool. So if you go to the roller on your mouse and you press down on it, that hand appears and you can pan that image around. And so we use that quite a bit in this class. It's just nice and really easy to use. So again, that's the pan tool. I use the roller to roll in, and then I press down on the roller to pan. So practice that to get familiar with the process, because once you do, you become really quick. So we're going to go ahead and edit some of those dimensions just so that you can see what that's like. We're going to click on the upper wall in your building, and we're going to look at that again, and it's 30 feet. And let's see, do we want to make, did I already do all this already? I might have done it already. Click on the dimensions, and we want to make a 15-foot by 15-foot room. So let's just do that. So I'm going to click on this, hover over it. I want to make it 15 feet. I want to make this 15 feet. So again, this is just showing you, making our room a little smaller. Now I have a 15-foot by 15-foot room. I'm zooming, and I'm pressing to get that pan tool activated. Earlier I was having trouble with the pan tool as well. I'm not gonna, I think it's probably just because the computer's a little slow and why I'm not being able to pan right now. So now that we have our 15-foot by 15-foot room, we're going to start adding objects. And objects are a simple select and place into the drawing. And there's ways to edit those objects as well that will go over on page 8 or 9. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in a window. So I'm on page 9 of the instructions. Page 8 and 9 will show you all the wonderful things that we can do with objects that I'll go over for you. So first thing, how about a window and a window. Let me see what my instructions are saying to do. So we're going to add a window. So I went and I used the select tool. I used the drop down window and I selected a window and I clicked on the wall to place in two windows. You can always move and resize as needed. Next, we're going to use the select tool again to click on the windows and click on the dimension to move it 18 inches from each corner. So the first thing we're going to do is we want the spacing. Oh, I'm missing my pan tool. Nope, it's not working. So the first thing we're going to do is way over to the left over here until my pan comes back. Oh, I saw it. We're going to click on the window. And it's this dimension that I want to make 18 inches. And this dimension I want to make 18 inches. So I could just click on the wall, on the window, crossbars appear, and I can just click, drag, and move. So I can always just do this if I want to. And I got a little bit closer here. But if I wanted to be very exact, I want to select the window. I want to select the measurement I want to modify, and I want to make it 1 feet 6 inches, right? 18 inches. Hit enter. So now it's 18 inches from that wall. I'm going to do it a little differently over here. I'm going to click on the window. I'm going to go to the dimensions. And instead of 1 foot 6 inches, what if I just clicked 18 inches? The program will read that as well. So now I have equal dimensions on either side. So that's the bottom of page 9. Lauren, was there any questions about that? It was quick, but...
No, I'm good, Corey.
Okay, you'll pop in if I'm going too fast. Next is to add a door. So I want to add a door right here, and I want to do like a slider, or you can do French doors. So for this exercise, tomorrow or next week we'll do beautiful those French doors in metal. We'll do those next week. But for today, let's just throw in a slider. So under doors drop down, I have my choice between hinge doors, a doorway, which is just an opening, or a sliding door. So click on the sliding glass door, come in, and place it on the wall. So I can click on my sliding door again to activate the dimensions. So I can try to, make this really nice and centered on the wall. But what's easier is to follow this. So I'm going to go over the steps. Use the select tool. That's always important. If you're having trouble, you're not on your select tool. Select the door. And this time I want to center it. And I want to center it in the room. So click on the door. Go down to the bottom of the page and you're going to see the center objects. So I call them the kissing arrows. Click on that. And now I can hover around the room and it's going to activate places for me to center it. This is right in the center of the room. I'm going to hit enter, or not hit enter, but hit click on my mouse. And now my door is centered. So really, a lot easier than maybe we've worked with other softwares in the past. So early on, students are going to ask me, and I probably shouldn't get into this knowing that the internet is kind of on the bleep, but I use Chief Architect and SketchUp together. I use SketchUp to create custom blocks, like maybe a custom bar or something for a restaurant. And then I save it as a block and I bring it into Chief Architect. So Chief Architect just happens to be a lot faster than SketchUp. So you can use them both together, and your final assignment, you use everything. You're going to use Chief Architect, you're going to use SketchUp, and you're going to use Photoshop. You're going to put it all together for your final portfolio. Page 10 is adding furniture. So again, we're over here in our library. I'm going to click out of that just as a reminder where that came from. You can click on library or just select the stack of books, and I'm in interiors library. So for the sake of time, I've just selected some furniture for you. But for you, because you're a creative, you want to have fun with it, you can put your own furniture in. So this was just using the library and just quickly putting some furniture in. So the first thing I'm going to have you practice is just typing in the word bed. And you can see that there is the small icons of all the different beds. And for the sake of time, I'm just asking you to pick a Craftsman bed and place it in your drawing. So notice that unless I go back to my select tool, I'm still in this piece of furniture. So if I clicked again, which I will, I'm going to have another bed and another bed. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you go back to the select tool. And now that's deactivated. I just hit delete on my keyboard. It looks like it's nice and centered in the room, but for the sake of practice, use the select tool, hit the bed, center objects, which there are the kissing arrows, and go ahead, hover. So don't press down on your mouse until you hover where you want to center it. That's in the room, and now it's centered. You can click off the drawing to deactivate it. For the nightstands, we're going to go ahead and put 2 nightstands in. Now, these nightstands that I'm putting in are actually dressers. And I'm doing that so that you can actually see how you can edit objects. So we're going to go to dressers. We're going to go to what's called a bow front dresser. So I can type that in, or I can just go dresser. And bow front is right here. And I'm just going to click over here and click over here. So I'm still activated. So as a reminder, go back to the select tool. So next I would like you just to take a look at what your room is looking like. To do this, click on the full camera. And what you're going to do is pretend like you are the photographer in the room. And you're going into the corner or right in front of the bed. And you're going to go click on your mouse, drag, and release. And this is showing you the angle that's going to be captured. So I'm straight in front of the bed. I just went click, drag, and release. And now I'm going to have a nice one-point perspective of my room. So clearly, I just went back to my select tool again. Clearly, these are too big. And in Chief Architect, you can modify all of these dimensions of objects. So there's an object modifier. And there's 2 ways to get to the object modifier. So let's just do this first in 2D. So right now I have up here tabs. I have my plan view, and now I have a camera view. I'm just going to tab back to plan view. So I'm going to click, oh, see, I'm still in my camera, so I need to go back to my select tool. I'm going to click on the nightstand, and I could open this dialog box up 2 ways. I could double click on it, or I can open up this door. So you're opening up a door of the object. I'll do it both ways. So in this book, in your instructions, I'm saying let's make this 36 inches wide. I want to make it 30 inches high. And I don't know. I have 29 inches deep, but that seems like a lot. Let's do 24 inches deep. So then I'm going to hit OK. Here's next week you're going to be working on, a lot more detailed drawings, and so it's telling you this: from the finished floor to the bottom of the piece, it's 0. That means it's sitting on the floor. And from the bottom of the piece to its top is 30 inches. So this becomes really helpful later on, but just for now, our piece is on the floor and we have these good dimensions. So I'm going to say, okay. I'm going to do it this one by double clicking, and it does the same thing. And yes, if you're thinking, oh, I bet you there's copy and paste and match properties and all that stuff, you are correct. And this is just to start. So now I want these nightstands to be centered on the window. My nightstand is selected. I'm going to go to Center Objects, and I'm going to hover around. This time I'm hovering on the window. I'm going to click on the window, centered. Activate the dresser, center tools, click. I just hit enter on my keyboard. I could have also clicked off the drawing. You're going to repeat these steps. You're going to bring in a bed. You're going to bring in a mirror over here. I have it called the Craftsman frame. You're going to bring in the lamps and a ceiling fan, a rocking chair, and some can lights. I'm just going to press pause for those of you who are watching this video. I'm going to hit pause because my video is getting long, and I'm going to put those in. Before I do that, let's just take a look. I could tab back to my camera. Now I have this nice little room with a bed, 2 nightstands. Maybe I need to bring up my windows or play around with my windows. You can do that. You're going to add some lamps, some art. You could put some window treatments on, etc. So this is what it looks like now. On page 11, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the pieces in. So hi everyone, I just put the ceiling fan in. I just placed 2 lamps. I put a Craftsman frame here. I'm owed a rocker. Need a rocking chair. I'm getting a little nervous because the internet's slowing down. Rocking chair. Okay, so I want to deactivate this. You can hit escape on your keyboard. or you can go back to the select tool. And now I'm going to select this rocking chair and I'm going to rotate it on an angle. So select, bring the chair in, and here you can make it a little wider, bigger if you want to. And this, hover over until you get the rotate tool, click on your mouse, drag, and release. The last thing we're going to do before I show you a picture of the camera view again is to add some recessed can lighting. So on your architectural toolbar, right next to cabinets, there's an outlet or a receptacle. And you're going to click on that drop-down menu, and you're going to find light. Because we're at the ceiling, you can just click and add some recessed can lighting in. In other classes, don't worry, we'll learn about how to connect those to switches, equally space them. We'll do that in other classes, but this is just an intro. So now you can see I have pretty well a nice little room here. So a couple things that we want to do is, this is a mirror, so you can see that the bed is being reflected in the mirror. I wanted to make it a bigger 36 by 48 inches. So remember, I can just drag to 48 inches, close. So I'm click, drag, release. And then you can do the crossbars to move. So I'm click dragging and I'm moving that around. Or if you want to be more exact, like many of you are, I can make it actually 48. By 36. And I could even tell where I want to place it. So right now, the bottom of this is 41 inches off the floor. So I'm just going to change that to 36 inches so you can just see how you can tell the computer where to place things. And there it lowered it for me. Before you say, so we're going to go in next week, we're going to go into how to change the colors of the material, how to put window treatments in. We're going to do that more next week. But if you know, if you are kind of sensing how this software works and you want to do a little more, you can. So the instructions go into how to like change wall materials and play around with all that. And we're going to do that more later. So this is the minimum that I want you to turn in. So at least do this. And I'm going to cross out of this camera view before we leave. And I'm going to just show you another camera view. So I'm going to go to the corner. So I'm a person taking the picture. I'm going to do click, drag, release in the direction I want to take a picture. And that's that here. The pan tool just worked for me. So I'm just looking at this quickly. I think that the ceiling fan should be a little bigger. I think this is looking a little funky, so maybe I'll put a Craftsman rocking chair in instead. Maybe I like that better. And then in plan view, I'll rotate that around. But there's something that's my pet peeve, and you remember this is my pet peeve from Photoshop as well. I don't like looking outdoors and windows and just having life drop off. So first let's put a backdrop in. So type in back. Type in backdrops. So here's a bunch of different backdrops. Go ahead. You can later bring your own in, but let's make it the nice woods for our Craftsman bedroom. So put a backdrop in. I selected the image and then I just clicked on the window. So now you have a backdrop. The last thing I want you to do is put a little landing right here, because again, I don't want someone just to open up the door and just drop outside. So I don't think this is in the instructions, but let me just show you. Go back to your demo, and we will do this more next week. Select a straight rail, straight deck rail. Click, drag, release, click, drag, release, click, drag, release. Click, drag, release. Crossbars move. Better. To export this image, so basically what you're doing is you're exporting this view. Okay, you're exporting like save screen. So to do this, you're going to go File, Export Picture, Export Picture. A picture is a JPEG. And this is fine, the defaults. And you're going to say OK. You can see it's saving it as a JPEG. And I'll just save it to my desktop. And we'll hit save.